What's up, guys? It's Scroo from TwinstiqLP. This is Ashen, and I actually made a live commentary for this video the day I recorded it, but I got a new microphone for Christmas, and it just picks up everything, and by the time background noise is rendered out of it, it makes it sound really bad. So I've been trying to balance out sound. Hopefully this is good. I just like this video better than I had any other subsequent ones that I've made, so I decided to do a post-commentary for it. Right now we're on a quest from this guy right here, Bataran, and he wants us to go into a dungeon and solve a little mystery, essentially, and it turns out to be a pretty cool video. So yeah, here we go. Let's check this out. Ashen is really cool. It has a very Dark Souls feel to it. It's pretty much an unapologetic Souls clone, actually. The thing is, though, I don't really know how to explain it. It feels really good. Most Souls clones that I've played are pretty good, but not, like, perfect isn't the right term, but they're not as mechanically sound, I guess. This game does a lot of stuff right. It's a little bit stripped down, as there are no like stat points to place to make a character build out of or anything like that. That's not really there. But in terms of accessibility, it's great. There's also co-op in this game. You'll notice I've got an AI character with me, and they're very useful, the AI guys. And, you know, they're not stupid, except for in certain aspects, certain points of the game, they'll just take off, and they're just not there for you anymore. And I think at this point, this guy's name is Yokel. I think here he gets stuck, and at this point, I don't have a lantern yet, so I need him to be with me so I can see where I'm going, and I end up having to, like, kind of try and go out of the dungeon to get him to respawn next to me. You can see he has kind of a hard time jumping back up here. I'm not real sure why that is. But it's interesting because the game actually seems to be built around co-op. Your two players are useful. You can actually choose in certain situations to help somebody climb up something. That seems to only happen in areas that are designed for that. Like, it would be nice if you could do that all the time. Like, maybe there is a setting, a button I can hit, a D-pad direction or something like that, because I'm using a controller for this. But I just don't know yet. Yeah, I think once I got up here, I managed to get him to respawn. Yeah. And from this point forward, we have no problems. But man, what a cool world this is. It's so kind of minimalistic, but really quite beautiful at the same time. Now, this is a dungeon. I understand it's dark in here. You can't tell. And just like Dark Souls, you can roll through and kick stuff and you know, break pottery and whatever. I haven't really found any items in any pottery, so I don't really do that very often, but it's nice to have destructible things in the environment. Just helps with the immersion a little bit. So that just refilled the Crimson Gourd, as it said on the screen there. The Crimson Gourd is essentially your Estus Flask. It's how you regain health or various consumables to use throughout the game. So far, I'm sure there are lots more than what I have now. I'm only just starting. This is real early on. I don't have any upgrades yet. It runs really well. Game's really pretty. I have noticed very occasionally I get some little frame dips. I think that came down to having Radeon Chill on. And what Chill does is selectively limit your frame rate in certain areas. Like if you're standing still or something is moving really slow, you don't need a full fast frame rate. So it keeps temperatures down on the GPU. But I think this game moves a little bit too slow for the software to really understand where it should be limiting frames. So sometimes it looks a little choppy. It really runs quite well. It's in the 150 plus frame rate area, and frame times all seem to be very good as well. Lots of good exploration to be had. It is pretty shameless in terms of Dark Souls copying, though. Even a lot of the, the items you pick up are just on, dead bodies draped over edges and things like that you would find in Dark Souls. See, there's one on the floor there. Oh, and you see the shadow. That was such a cool thing, seeing that shadow move through. Really awesome visuals. And this turns out to be like a mini boss, essentially, or your first boss fight. Now the story behind this, and this is not a spoiler. You literally have to know this before you start playing the game. So this is not a spoiler of any kind. The Ashen is a creature like a raven, essentially, that sits atop the world tree and provides light for the world. And like a phoenix, the way I understand it, it occasionally dies and then is reborn. And during its last death, its last 3 breaths, as the game says, were the 3 great ages. And this last one is the age of man. And then it is reborn and the process starts again. Well, the darkness, the Elder Dark is what the game calls it, is actually trying to kill the Ashen prematurely so that darkness can prevail and light can't come back to the world. And so you, as a character, are trying to help the Ashen survive, to defend it. And actually, I think that's a pretty cool thing, because it's not quite as dour and sad as like Dark Souls' crumbling world and madness filling everyone, and undead rising everywhere, and just lots of super sad, terrible things are happening. This is just pretty much a straight black and white sort of scenario. It's a dark and light contest, and you're of course on the side of light. So I actually really like it, and again, the world build is really beautiful. I guess really my point here is that the Elder Dark, this guy, Ukoto, is part of the Elder Dark. The first one you meet. I like how well that was telegraphed. That was the first encounter with this guy, and just by him being down there, mechanically, seeing him charge up like that, you just know something bad is going to happen and get out of the way. And this game's full of really good mechanics. It's really sound. It would be interesting to play this, I think, co-op. I haven't done that yet. I got this game on the Epic Game Store. I was kind of hoping it would come to Steam, because as much as I like Epic Game Store, I like Steam's. Steam has a screenshot key, and you can't do that with Epic Game Store. You have to actually hit Windows and print screen, Windows key print screen, and then like edit out your extra monitors and that kind of stuff. And with this game being played with a controller, you also have to drop the controller, and yeah, it just makes the process a little harder is all. It's pretty trivial ultimately, but if you look on Steam's page, it still says that Ashen's release date is to be determined. So I don't know if maybe they just decided to only go with Epic, or maybe they have like some exclusive release timing or something like that. I just don't know. But that was it. That boss fight, that was the first one, and that was your introduction to having something more than just fighting bandits or whatever on the road. I think I walked around a little bit confused here because I wasn't sure how to get out of this place anymore. And I think that actually was the way to go, but I think I was confused thinking maybe I had to do something else back here. With the light shining on it, it just made me feel like I was missing something. But I wasn't. There are lots of little cutouts in the world like this, real dark little niches and things you can go back to, sort of Metroidvania style-esque, to go back and explore once you have a lantern. Beautiful sound implementation. Soundtrack is wonderful.
You have slain an Elder Dark. That is surprising. You have earned the right to see the mother of the birthing waters, if you wish. Geffen, this traveler has come to seek your wisdom.
Now, Geffen, as you'll see here pretty soon, is one of the listeners. She came before the age of man, the listeners did. The subplot here is you're also still trying to you're trying to solve the riddle of an illness that's going around affecting everything, essentially, and finding Geffen is part of that.
The Ashen is reborn, and the remaining Elder Dark will seek its end. To prevent this doom, you must seek out the heart of Lathyrus. The heart was crafted long ago, when listener and human were united in hope. It captured and focused the light of the Ashen, and allowed them to commune with it. When the Ashen died, human and listener blamed each other. War raged as darkness fell. Matriarch Amiren sundered the heart and took the listener half to protect her people. If you wish to protect the Ashen from the Elder Dark, you must recover the broken heart. To help you in your quest, I give to you this echo. Amara was once seer of Lathyrus. I bind her to you until the heart is found.
So pretty cool, good voice acting, I think, overall. I'm enjoying it. And again, this art direction, just, I'm in awe of it. It's really, really cool. Sort of Abzu-esque. But that's it for this area. I think at this point I leave and we'll go back to the village. The village, by the way, is a pretty cool place. It's called Vagrant's Rest. I think, again, I wander around in here, confused about where to get out. But anyway, back to the village. Called Vagrant's Rest, and you get it sort of like you would in Far Cry. You liberate it. You go in and wipe everything out, and then allied units come in and rebuild it. And as you're out on missions and quests and explorations and stuff like that, then the town rebuilds further and further and becomes a city. I think it's a pretty cool idea. Yeah, this is the way out. Nope, it was the way back. In. I think that cave to the left is where, yeah, that was the way I ended up getting out of here. Those spider things, man, they're so scary looking. There's another one down there rattling around. Oh yeah, new outfit. So that's another thing it has in common with Dark Souls, I guess, in a smaller aspect, is the fact that you can actually get new clothing sets. The problem is they're not piece by piece; they're just one item. So there's not really a level of building a look that you might like. You just get full outfits at once, and they're nice looking, at least. So it's not like some, ugly stuff or whatever. I guess again that's sort of subjective. And I walked out here. I remember thinking maybe once I get the lantern, I need to come back and do this again, because it seems like there might be a path that I can't see there yet. And I could be wrong, but it seems like the kind of game that might have something like that. I have to wait for Yokel's light. I like the idea of the lantern, because you can have one-handed weapons and two-handed weapons, and there's like spears that you can have that you can use as a two-handed weapon, but you can also throw it, so you have a ranged weapon. It's pretty good combat style, or combat mechanics are pretty good. They're pretty simple, but varied, I guess. But I like the idea that once you get the lantern, you can't hold the lantern and a shield. You can do a lantern and a one-handed weapon. So you lose some defense while gaining extra sight in the dark. And the item that I just found back there is like the equivalent of a homeward bone in Dark Souls. It'll just take you back to the last bonfire, except for in this case it takes you back to your hometown, your Vagrant's Rest. But I decided to save it. But here we are outside again. Quite pretty out here. The map is very detailed, luckily. You can sort of see Vagrant's Rest in the distance there. Demonstrating throwing a spear there, she was. I think this is where I spotted. There's like an item kind of down here in the river. Yeah, off there on one of those pillars. I wanted to see if I could get to that. I couldn't yet. I think I had to try a different way in order to keep the video going. I went about it afterwards. It wasn't that difficult, but it took a little time. Deep water you have to be careful of. Your character can't swim. You can still move, but I guess if you run out of stamina, you'll drown before you get back to dry land. There's more spear throwing. And you can see how Yokel is just taken off. That happens sometimes. It's the weirdest thing. They're with you until they just like go, oh well, see you later, I guess, and that's it, right? You're on your own. And actually, the game is much more challenging by yourself. So if you're looking for a challenge, Those times are the way to get it. There might be a way later on as well to actually forcibly choose that option to just go by yourself. Ultimately, to get out there, I think I had to climb up these walls. And I wasn't sure why that hurt me right there. I just jumped and landed, and I don't know, maybe I twisted my ankle or something, but I feel like that shouldn't happen. That was just a mistake. This is where I decided, screw it, I'm just going to come back rather than waste a bunch of people's time. You can still see those little frame dips every now and again. Again, that doesn't really happen anymore. And this is back at Vagrant's Rest, where we then talk to, go back and talk to Badaran, I think. Yeah. And once we do that, I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Because I think, yeah, he just puts up an anvil for me to use. Oh, I guess I should, that big stone in front of me there, I'm going to walk by it pretty soon. That's like a binding stone. That's essentially like your bonfire. That will, just by getting close to it, it will refill your flask and save your progress and that kind of stuff. But this is Badaran. He's one of the listeners affected by this illness. That's why he only has one arm. But yeah, here we go, guys. This is it, man. I'm enjoying the shit out of this game. It's really good. And I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys very much for watching. This has been Ashen, guys. I really want to recommend this. It's really good. If you have a itch to play a Souls game, a Souls-like game, and you've played all like the Surge and Lords of the Fallen and that kind of stuff, this is a really good way to go. And it's not real expensive. It's like $40, I believe. And I highly, highly recommend it, especially if you have a friend to play with in co-op, because I think that would be really cool. Anyways, guys, I've been Scroo from TwinstiqLP. As always, have a great one. Happy New Year. I'm going to go get a beer.